Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Welcome back. Today, I am super excited to welcome Dr. Gearl Loden to Unlock 360 as a special guest. Dr. Loden is the superintendent of Nixa Public Schools in Missouri and also the author of Before It Breaks, The 7 Pillars of Trust Every Leader Must Build. Welcome, Dr. Loden.
Wendy, I'm excited to be with you today on your podcast, and I'm really excited too that you have a copy of the book already.
Yes, indeed. And I have not, I will admit, I have not yet read it cover to cover, but I have certainly started to, take a peek and can't wait to talk about that some more
Oh,
today.
yeah. And as you read it, please share feedback with me as far as what your takeaways are.
Okay, will do. Well, Dr. Loden, you have an extensive background in education. Will you kick us off today with just an introduction of yourself?
Well, Wendy, for people that don't know me, I'm Gearl Loden, and I'm currently a superintendent in Nixa, Missouri, and this will be my 9th year in Nixa and my 36th year in education overall. And as far as my background, I originally started out as a teacher in a small school in Mississippi. Went to school to be a history teacher and ended up being a coach too. And did that as classroom teacher, the assistant principal, an elementary principal for 4 years, a high school principal for 4 years, was an HR director in a decent size, about 6,500 student district for a couple of years. And then I've been a superintendent now. This will be my 18th year as a superintendent in my 3rd district. Where a lot of people talk about retirement, it's almost like it sounds like they're in prison trying to get out. How many years do you have left? All my friends laugh at me and they're like, "You're not meant to retire." And I really love what I do and love being in education. A couple things about me that people may not know, because people can look like they've all got it together, and someone may look at my bio and say, "Oh, Dr. Loden was the state super of the year and all this, and he's got a doctorate." But when I was a kid, that when I entered school, I had about everything you could think of. I had to have speech and work on my thistles and thimbles and thorns. Later learned in life I was dyslexic. I just knew I didn't like to read. I struggled reading. And then when my oldest son was diagnosed with ADHD, later the doctor laughed at me and said, "You're a poster child for a person that's never been diagnosed with ADHD." So I realized then, oh, yeah, I'm ADHD, and then I'm colorblind. So that really made school fun, because I won't lie, I didn't like anything of art, because I'd have something that was beautiful in my mind and other people would laugh at me and make fun of my projects. But, and then I'm left-handed. I've got to throw that one in. I just always saw that in for the heck of it. And I say that because another thing that shaped me is when I was 9, I was the only child. My dad did not graduate high school, but he was passionate. Both parents worked in factories, and they're like, "You're going to go to college. We want you to do better. We want you to have an education." But when I was 9, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and that changed a lot for our family. You went from 2 incomes to 1. And then at 11, she had a different type, and at 15, a reoccurrence of the original. Now that shaped everything. And I say that because
Yeah.
as educators, we can all think about our own lens of the world, but there are a lot of kiddos that come in with different baggage or different backgrounds. And I think at times it's easy to say, "Well, I'm a good teacher, and I know I'm a good teacher, and I taught a great lesson," but they didn't get it. And you start blaming the kid. But in reality, sometimes it's just saying, "I haven't connected with a child, or there's things I can do that will help." And I think that's been a difference maker for me, is because I've been in the arena of a child that struggles. I'm very passionate that our kids can learn, and we just have to figure out what's best for them and how to connect with them.
Yes, indeed. And such an interesting backstory. And I do appreciate you sharing that. Um, you've referred to yourself as neurodivergent learner, and I think that having gone through those challenges as a young boy, and with your mom and her health, and then your challenges with learning, I'm sure that had something to do with your inspiration for wanting to go into the field of education.
Oh, yes. Being from a rural area, most of the people I had in education were teachers, and they were around you. And I never forget one teacher who was telling me, he said, "I love teaching. All my friends graduated with me. They all work in factories. Some of them make more money than I do, but I have a good quality of life. I have a retirement. I have insurance. I get to do vacations." And the people that I had that were around me, most of the teachers were very proud to be teachers. And I'll never forget, one of my best friend's moms taught us accounting, and she taught business classes. And about 10th grade, I told her, I said, "I really believe I want to be a teacher." And she was telling everyone, "He said he wants to be a teacher." And then our last year, they had a feature of all the seniors in the little school newspaper. And I said, then I wanted to teach history and be a principal. And I guess I knew what I wanted to do in a lot of ways because that's what I did. I taught for 7 years, was an assistant principal for 1 year, then in a principalship. And just I loved all my jobs. It's one thing about it. Wherever you're at, do the best you can, enjoy it. And education is such a great field because you get to connect with others, you get to make a difference. And now, I've got several people that I've taught or I've hired early on now that are principals and leaders. It's fun being able to say, chat with them and talk to them and mentor and coach them.
Yes, and wow, so that's pretty early on that you knew what you wanted to do, and that sure is what you did. That's wonderful. And Dr. Loden, before we get into much to like your past 9 years at Nixa Public Schools and how that has gone for you and the superintendency there, I do want to talk just a little bit about your new book. It is your first book, correct?
It is my first one. It's been a goal, like a lot of people, you have a goal of writing a book. And mine is I've always been about developing leaders, helping with leadership pipelines. My dissertation was on assistant principals' duties. So I've really, my passion is having leadership development, pipelines, job enrichment, things that will help people. So one of my goals a few years ago, I said, I'd like to capture some of the nuggets for my sons. And then if it's a book that people buy, that's fine and dandy. And now I can say it's in my hands. I have it and it's out there. And the feedback has been very good so far.
What I've found so far is excellent, and I love that the whole book is really about trust and not just, how to go about building trust, but also, um, how to repair when things have gone wrong and some protocols and some ways to self-assess, your skills in that area as a leader. Will you tell us a little bit more about your book and about the 7 pillars of trust?
Well, it goes back to the lessons I've learned. I started off the ADHD principle as like a bull in a china shop. I would go too fast. My strengths and my profiles are I'm the guy that can look at the systems that you have and imagine them in totally different ways or come up with totally new things. So I love planning like that, but then you have to be careful not to overwhelm your people. So a lot of the stories in the book, they're hybrids, they're real stories of people I've worked with, people I've supported, things I've done. Now my wife can tell you there's a couple of the coaching stories that she's like, "You didn't coach anyone, you did that. I know when you did it." So she knows the inside track on the book. But they're real, and I believe when you look at it, if you've been working at all around teams, you're gonna say, "I've worked for a boss like that. I worked with a team like this." And you'll recognize
Oh,
certain
yeah.
signs. And I think what happens is a lot of the literature out there is theory-based or people who have written about the same pillars or tenets, but a lot of leaders will go, "Well, that's more of a soft skill." So I've tried to operationalize trust, and there's a protocol, a 72-hour protocol that I really believe if we would put that in our organizations, we could really change the dynamics of cultures because, often you can feel a rub and you think everything's going to be fine and you leave it alone. They'll take care of it. Well, then 6 months later, 9 months later, you have a blow up. And as a leader, you want to fix it. You want to get involved. But what's really happening is not the problem. It's things that have been building up over time. And the 72-hour protocol, if something's off, go and just sit down and talk, reflect, think about what you feel like it might be, but don't assume it's that and go and talk to the person. And it may be that everything is totally fine. They just been diagnosed with something they didn't want to be diagnosed with, or maybe they're going through a divorce, or it maybe there's a
So
real
true.
rub and it may be real that they feel like they're not clear, they're not understanding you, and they're trying to do well, but they're afraid they're not going to do what you're expecting. And you just need to get on the same page. There's also a longer protocol. It's a 90-day protocol. And sometimes it may take longer than 90 days, but it's that long-term protocol. Because, as leaders, it's easy to say what we're going to do or feel like our intent is good, but we're not being judged by our intent. We're being judged by the way we act, the things that we put in place every day by our teams.
Or how we're perceived, right?
Yes, and perception can be stronger than reality. And there's so many views. Like I have my view of the world, my map of the world, and you'll have your view of the world. But the real world may be different, kinda like Google Maps at times will take you to crazy
Yeah.
places. Well, our maps are all different. So Dr. Loden is perceived one way by his wife, one way by his children, one way by his coworkers. Well, we need to realize the reality is a lot different and look for gaps because I may feel like I'm a great communicator, but if everyone's saying there's some gaps in areas that I need to be vulnerable enough to say, I may feel like I'm good, but I've got some room to grow and work on.
Indeed, that is so very true, yes. And there was a piece that you and I talked about a little bit, before the show around competence. Will you elaborate on that a little bit more for our audience?
Two of the pillars that intertwine in the book are competence and care. And when you talk about competence, most people are going to say competence is being able to do the job and have the skill set. And at foundational level, we have to have competence. You have to be able to perform your job and be willing to learn other skills. And then on the care side, just having empathy, caring for people, making sure that you have a culture that supports people. But there's another side of both of them where if you're really wanting to have a high performing team, you have systems also that are competent, not just your
Right.
people, but your systems. If you look at Demon's work, Demon says in his work that about 95% of your issues are your systems. Now, I would argue your systems, your vision, and the clarity around your vision, the systems and implementation. Because if you have all of them in place, your people are going to thrive. If you don't have all three, then your people are going to struggle. So with your competence, if I have systems that are repeatable, that you can train people for, they're able to perform, and that doesn't mean a specialized skill set, but just as the average person can run the system without having to have heroics where they're putting in 70 hours a week, 15-hour days, you're burning them out. That is really, really good. And then on the care side, it blends in with the standpoint of having the systems and everything in where you do care for your people, you have a fun environment, a culture people like being in, but also you have the workload care where I'm saying, Wendy, I want you to be productive. You have your job, but also you're running teams. So I'm managing teams. So I need you to have the time you need to check in on your team, to develop your team, to support your team. And also I need for you to have a small portion of time where you can just reflect and think about the vision. What direction are you going for the next quarter, the next year? So we can always be evolving and working towards the future. Because if everyone gets bogged down in the present and if the leaders are not able to lead for the future and see what skill sets they need to be working on for their teams, then how are you going to evolve? And you can't stay the same. If you stay the same, you're going backwards.
That is so very true. And so shifting a bit from the book, and everyone do pick up your copy. I understand that there's a free workbook for a little bit of time.
Yes. The if when you buy the book, there's a workbook that you can buy online, but I would not buy it right now. And I'm not trying to not sell a workbook, but when you're an author, you can do things you like, and I love workbooks. So we've made this robust workbook, and I have it through August the 7th. If you buy the book, register your book, and there's a resource bundle of several materials, but also there is the workbook, and you can have a PDF of it if you like workbooks. And then in August and September, I'm going to have two master classes that are complimentary master classes around the book. And you'll have some of the core themes that in both classes, but I'm going to do my best to have some coaching moments where people just bring up scenarios and we talk through and kind of share and build a little community there. So I'm excited about the master classes. I have them occasionally and just it's fun because you'll have people from all across the United States. I've had people from Colombia and Indiana so, that are educators. So it's nice when you have a global presence and you're talking about the issues that are relevant for leaders.
Yes, indeed. And so, super excited about that as well. And Dr. Loden, then shifting to your service as superintendent of Nixa Schools, will you please, shed some light on what it was like? You've been in the role in that seat with this particular district for 9 years now, and so that means that you were there pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, and post-pandemic. And, I'd love for you to shed some light for our audience on what it was like for you leading the district through the pandemic.
And Wendy, if I can give a little backstory, I'm a native of Mississippi. I had 27 years there. I actually was in Texas a few years before I retired, and they had an academy for experienced superintendents. And they talked about when you retire, you don't just wake up and retire, but you think about what you want to do. Well, I kept reflecting on that. I'm like, I love being a superintendent. And my wife and I talked about it. We thought, well, we could move out of Mississippi, but we could go like Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri. So we started traveling in the fall for fall breaks, and we love the Branson area. And my last year, I told my board president, I said, we finished our bond. Things are going well. I might retire. I don't know. I'll let you know for sure in plenty of time if I do. And Nixa popped up on my radar because Dr. K, the superintendent, have been here 18 years. They've always had superintendents for a long period of time.
Okay.
Great community, great district. Well, in Tupelo, Mississippi, at the First Baptist Church, our pastor had baptized my oldest son. And then a year or so later, he moved to Springfield, Missouri. Well, I knew that Nixa was close. So I called him and he didn't say hello. He said, are you applying in Nixa? His kids were in Nixa schools. His wife told my wife about it. So we came up for fall break and we said, let's watch a ball game. Well, that time the boys figured out what we were doing. And by halftime, they were wanting to buy gear and we were playing our arch rival. And then 2 months later, I'm the superintendent. And it's been a great
Okay.
9 years. Now they'll admit to you now that when I was hired, they're like, they're hiring someone from Mississippi. And they're always like last in everything. And the first year, you're in a place that's really good academically, always in the top 10 to 15%. But there was a new model when our scores came back from the previous year. They weren't as good. And my first year, we didn't change a lot. We tried to set the stage for PLCs. And when the scores came back not as good, that helped to perk up about PLCs. And
Sure.
uh, everything has been great. Of course, COVID wasn't fun, but we put in the PLCs. We were the 30th international model PLC in the world. Pretty much all of our schools now, if they're not model schools, they're promising practices schools. And that's the right kind of work, working together in teams, building that environment where you're not afraid to be vulnerable. And then during COVID, we had a group going through our admin academy where we partnered with the university, and they came to me and they wanted to work on a snow day plan because in other states you can have virtual snow days.
Right.
Our state was not even entertaining that at the time. So I wasn't brave enough or we didn't take it to the state, but we had it. Well, in January before COVID hit, I kept researching and I told my cabinet, I said, we need to look at a plan if we need to close our schools down. Now, they all looked at me like I was crazy, but we started working on the plan, and our state Department of Ed, Health Department had a big meeting before spring break and gave us the numbers. And the numbers they were giving, you'd have to have a lot of people sick before you close down school. But the best decision we made is we went ahead and sent our Chromebooks home, and then we never made it back. And then one of the superintendent type decisions you just have to make that my board supported me on was in May, we brought our teachers back. And that was not fun. It was not pleasant. They didn't want to come back, but we did that. We have our magnet school that goes 20 extra days. We brought the kids back and our protocols worked. And then we had summer school. And that really helped us to start school in the fall. And I don't advertise. I mean, I think people know I went back because I was bored and got an MBA and my wife's a nurse. So my MBA, when I chose, I said, I'll do the healthcare add-on. I don't know why I just did it because, we have kids, you have patients, we have parents, they have families, lots of regs. Well, we were using like Hackensack, New Jersey, and other hospitals that had some of the highest COVID cases, learning how they were cleaning rooms. We used
Okay.
Dexo, we partnered with them, we bought the lights. We were actually featured on Lester Holtz because we had the EV lights and all. And there's a cleaner that the Olympic team uses. It's actually made in Nixa that would clean. You can spray it in your mouth, your eyes. It's very, very safe for kids. But there was some times we had weird phone calls. The police would get calls in the middle of the night. There's something going on. It looks like some kind of alien spaceships in the school or something. And it'd be the lights going off. Uh, but we made it through that. And Nixon now, we're typically in the top 1% about everything you can measure, very high performing district and a very good value because we spend about $3,000 less per child than the state average. And we're competing, even though some people may look at our reduced free lunch rate, say we have a low reduced free lunch rate. There are people in the north that are spending 10,000 more, have like 10% or less reduced free lunches.
Wow. Okay.
And we're slugging it out, usually head over or right there with them in about every category. So it's a great place. Good community support. We've passed 2 bonds. We'll go for a 3rd bond this year. My first year, we had a tax levy increase. Now, that's not in any superintendent playbook. You walk in, and of course, says Pat raised taxes, but our community supported it. And that goes back to the trust that was here way before me, Dr. Kleinsmith and the other superintendents and boards. Had great board support and just a great team.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay. So I want to go back to in January, you were already thinking we may need a plan for this. And,
Yes.
was it your education in the healthcare arena that what caused you to think that? Because I don't think many were at that time thinking this is something we need to get ahead of.
That's the neurodivergent side of me. My whole group knows I'm researching things constantly. I love finances and the economy and all. So you're keeping up with things happening around the globe. And
Okay.
you're seeing, okay, in these other countries, this virus is causing shutdowns and different things. And then I have taught through Buffalo State some international classes. So being able to reach out, and even if we didn't have contacts, we were calling places like Sweden did a totally different model. They didn't shut down. In the summers, when it's summer here, it's winter in Australia. But during their summer, when it was spreading ahead of ours, we were networking, seeing what was happening in Australia to their schools and their communities. Like here
Okay.
out now, we'll still look at the flu season in Australia during their winter right now to see what's going to happen to us in the fall. So a lot of that's just learning, networking, not being afraid to email people. How are you handling this? One person that made me feel really good for us was a superintendent or leader in an international school had told me, said, we just made it back. We're celebrating with, he said, we were celebrating and just making it back. and fed our teachers. Then 2 nights later, we're called at 2 a.m. in the morning. They're having a military takeover, and they're having to flee the country. So I said, "Well, I'll
Oh
take
my
COVID
God.
over that any day."
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but
Yeah. Wow.
the good thing is, in education, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to network with our community, support our families, educate our kids, make sure we have the best teachers and we take care of our teachers. Because if I'm serving my principals and they serve the teachers make all the magic. So we're all doing it different ways, though. So you can learn. We can find things in other countries that we would be like, how do they do that? I don't. And one thing I do, if I find something that makes me push back, then I want to step back and reflect on it. Okay, that's so different, but they're making it work. So is there a nugget I can steal that I can make my own?
Yes, indeed. Okay. And then you sent Chromebooks home. Um, you mean before spring break?
Yes,
That the kids okay. So then they were ready
they were ready.
before you even had to close the schools.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's amazing.
I mean, we're in a small. Well, we have 27,000 people, roughly 25,000 in our town. We have district outside, and we have a good marketing team, but we just started making very raw videos, and the first one had like 55,000 views. And it was just a simple, here's what we know, here's what we don't know. We're going to do our best to make sure we protect our children. Now there was that underlying tone of, we want to stay on mission. You know, my wife's a nurse. We want to make sure we're safe. We looked at a lot of old coronavirus data, and kind of figured out you could go 3 feet if you mask certain ways and all.
Yeah.
But you're praying too that no one gets sick, none of your fragile kids die or whatever.
Yes.
And this funny thing for me, I guess now is I made it through it. And I was afraid, like, if I got sick and got really bad, that would really hurt. But after COVID was over with, 2 years later, I got it and ended up septic in the hospital with it. I made it through all that and then had it and it almost killed me. So I really have an appreciation it because it was bad. And
Yeah.
it was funny because some people it's a cold and they'd laugh it off, and other people would just make them sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. The other thing that I'm super curious about, kind of moving more to the current reality of Nixa schools, and I just would love for you to shed some light on Nixa One and what that is, how it came to be, and where you all are.
We have a couple things that I feel like are so easy to steal and make your own that we're doing that are very cost neutral, but knowing that in a lot of communities in the future, only 25% of the people have a child in the schools, and that our birth rate is going down and we have more seniors. And especially in our area, we have people moving in from other areas that maybe they're in high tax states, so they can come here and buy a home and they can have a great retirement, but maybe they're in an area that was the pro schools, or so they pay for private schools. So they're negative about schools. Well, how can we let them see that we've got good schools and good support? And two, how can we just serve our community? So what we did is we started off before the official One Nixa program. We started off with One Nixa Reads, and we
Okay.
pick a book like last or 2 years ago is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We have a big ribbon cut in the city and the library and the school's partner. We have donors that donate a lot of books, and we give a lot of books away. And we had Charlie's Golden Tickets, and our sponsors were businesses, and the kids would go around and get like a scavenger hunt and get the tickets stamped. And then at the end of the reading the book, we have a summer movie in the park with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They have ice cream, and with your ticket, you get free ice cream.
That's so
And
cool.
it's so cool. And we do that every year. This year it was the Wild Robot, and one of our board members is crazy. She loves to dress up, so she was the Wild Robot.
Okay.
And then one Nixa though started off with kind of wanting to have a college town feel where you love doing the activities. There's lots of things to do, and we have a lot of classes now. We've involved of where we've had Wendy, I don't know lie, we've had well over 1,000 people attend over the last 2 years, and we have a variety of classes. We have things like Rules for the Road, and that's really going to be predominantly teenagers. But we've had some people that are first generations that are in the country that want to learn how to drive that adults have taken the class.
Yeah.
We've had one class, and one of our teachers who does all the national parks has taught, and I didn't know that when you're a senior, you get free national park passes.
Oh, I
Uh,
didn't do that either.
but he taught that. One of our early ones was one of our ball game moms that takes kids all around to the ball games, had a class for parents that got kids that are going to be involved. So, here's the little red wagon. Here's the things you pack. Here's how you do your snacks. And the parents love that because I don't know about you, but my wife and my boys started playing ball. We didn't know we'd go out there and be frying or look around. Oh, they got a tent. Oh, they got this. And then we go and buy it, figure it
Yeah.
out. And then some of our better classes, with our bonds, we had at our junior high, which is our old high school, our fact center, or like home ec center. It looked like something from Alice in the Brady Bunch. It was old. We remodeled it, and now we have a lot of our cooking classes there. And we've had chocolates, we've had cake decorating, we've had some floral design type classes. and they're very inexpensive. Now, some may charge a little more, like you may have a higher fee for floral design because you're going to leave with an arrangement that would be a $200 or $300 arrangement. Uh,
Mhm.
Cookie decorating, it's insane. My cookies actually looked okay. We had apple pie classes, and you have families there, grandparents. I don't eat pork, but we had one for how to make bacon. The home ec people come in and do things around bugs, good bugs, bad bugs, how to plant gardens. So if somebody has a talent and they really want to teach a class, crocheting, quilting, it's any kind of class you can think of. If you got a passion, so we have a lot of our people that started out being teachers with passions, but now we've got people constantly volunteering, and we have two ladies that run the program. They're going to community events and showcasing it and getting volunteers. And then this year we actually, one goal that I have is if you go to our local hospitals, our seniors are the ones that greet you, take you to your room, and make sure you're taken care of. Well, I'm hoping we can tap into a lot of them and have them to come into the schools because we have little boys and girls that maybe have never had a man to read a book with them. Just
Right.
not really, and we want women too, but we just to get people into the buildings. But this year we started when it was cold in our new activity center. We have an indoor and it's got a community room. So we have community classes there. Like our chamber has a working women, a mix of classes, a leadership class every month. They host it there. Our local regional economic development group hosts classes or meetings there. But we opened up in the mornings for people to walk before school. So we had several people walking in the morning time. And then once a month, the city or other partners would come in and kind of talk after they finish walking and have coffee and donuts about what's coming on up in town, the events around town. So it's a good way to be a community partner.
Yeah, and truly to exist as community schools, to bring the community in and partner alongside the community. That's fantastic, and I think, um, just such a cool idea for so many of our, listeners, that may be serving as superintendents or assistant superintendents in other districts, that, may be looking to become, more in terms of community schools. Dr. Loden, I am wondering about the bonds that you've had passed and that you're that you mentioned working on and even, having to increase taxes. And I'm guessing that having such a strong presence in the community and partnering alongside the community really helps with those things.
It does. And now, just like the rest of the world, we've had, everything's very political. You have a lot of people that are anti taxes right now. Everywhere you read about, people are very sensitive to taxes. Well, in just about every area, the majority of your local property taxes go to your schools. And that's just the way they're funded. I don't like the property taxes I pay either, but I understand that you can't do away with them. You got to choose how you're going to pay your taxes.
Yes.
And there's a shift in America that concerns me because I have enough friends in international environments to where it's the poor kids go to the public schools, the middle income kids go to like the private Catholic or whatever little private school they can find. Then the elites go to the nicer schools. Well, in the States, have always had a foundation of you can pay for a school if you want to go to it, but we're going to have public schools, and 90% of our kids are going to go to public schools. And having an educated citizen is our best thing for citizenship education in the future. And public schools change lives. I mean, my parents could not have afforded a private school. They worked hard. I went to public schools. I'm that student that worked to 9 o'clock every night. I wasn't the best student, but
Right.
I had enough of a foundation that when I locked in, I was able to do really well. And there are educators out there. The world is going to get more complex. It's going to keep changing. There's always going to be talks of new models or new reading programs, or the schools can do better or less funding. But we just got to maintain hope and manage what we can and just stay focused for kids. They need us more than ever.
I could not agree more. And I too am a product of public education, and that is what this is all about. Unlocking the relationship between leadership, teaching, learning, and the community, and the keys to success, and being a champion for public education. And so it's been an honor to have you on the show today, Dr. Loden. I would love for you to just tell people where they could go if they want to learn more about Nixa Schools or about you and your background as a national influencer of the year. Um, where can people go to learn more?
Oh, we have a robust website, and we are really proud because our website has a lot of detail. It's nixaschools.net. And when we have a chat bot, we've had it for a couple of years now, and it gets about 90% accurate on questions. So
That's
come
awesome.
in and ask some questions for the chat bot. And then just loadinleadership.com is my website. And it has the landing pages for someone who would like to learn more about the book. I'd encourage not trying to sell anything, but all the materials and all the master classes, you do have to buy the book because you got to have a little knowledge. Like the one
Yes.
pillar we didn't mention today is the courage pillar. It's totally different in the model, but just having the courage to have the difficult conversations or to know there's times where, well, I'm living a good lifestyle, but I may make people mad, but I'd rather make people mad and know I'm doing what's right for my kids
Yes.
to play it safe. But no, I'd love for people to check me out. I do have a couple newsletters that go out every month. Got almost 10,000 people now that are subscribed. So I started out a couple years ago just with my family and friends. So that's kind of exciting.
It is very exciting. And so I'd like to speak to a couple of those pieces. One question is are they also able to sign up for the masterclass through your website?
Yes. What you do is I have the newsletter. I have my real newsletter on the website. It's called the Growth Alliance. I have the same version that goes through LinkedIn. It's every other week. But the people that register the book, they get an inner circle that's a little more intimate about the book. And when you download your resources, you can sign up for a master class and you can take both master classes. I mean, I really want people to take more. That way we can kind of build a community.
Yeah, that is really cool and would be awesome. Okay, great. And then the other piece that I wanted to speak to there is about the website. The website for Nixa Schools is truly fantastic. I would agree. It is so neat to be able to see the accomplishments that you all have had over the years, and even not just yes academically and culturally, and with schools that are model PLC schools, schools of promising practices. Achievement gains, improvements in other
I
metrics.
mean, it's even spilled over to our, I've just got to say, like our athletic program.
Yes, I saw
We
that.
have leadership classes before school for our kids, and now our like band, choir, and theater having leadership classes for the kids, and that has just shaped our culture.
Yes, I saw that, and, the other thing that I saw, and I don't know why on one hand, on the other hand, maybe I do. I think it could be coming back to that care pillar, and some of what you spoke to there earlier in the show, but the HR piece also caught my eye, and I noticed that you all had, recently made a change from, like, a traditional, personal or sick time off kind of policy where it's just personal time off, where, I think that shows employees, and I could have that wrong, so feel
Oh
free to
yes,
correct me, but that
yeah.
it shows them that, hey, you care, and if they need to take time, they can, and they don't have to worry about, is it for this or that?
Oh, and with 1,000 plus employees, there's always going to be someone that will not be happy about something. But I'm
Right.
proud because we're in a state with unions, and we don't have a union, and we work with our teachers groups, and we listen, and we've changed bereavement, we've added the PTO, and just last year we were voted best employer in the area, and that was our employees, and that just makes
So
you feel
cool.
good because it should not be. We were all teachers, yeah. We've all been in a classroom. We want to support our teachers because they're our front line. They're our greatest intervention that we have.
Yeah, indeed. Really cool stuff. And so, yes, folks, if you're looking for a new place to call home for yourself as a teacher, for your kiddos, to enroll in school, or even to serve as a leader, do check out the Next to School's website. It's really great, and you'll learn a lot of information. Tell us one more time the website address, please.
And so nixaschools.net, and Nixa is the only Nixa in the United States, Nixa.
Okay.
And Brad Pitt was at Kickapoo, which is the arch rival. And I don't know if this is what happened, but in the Jason Bourne movie, the very first one, somehow I got said in the movie that Nixa is the birthplace of Jason Bourne.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
So, but just remember Nixa and Jason Bourne. And then lodenleadership.com is my website.
Okay, perfect. And then, last but not least, I do want to give you an opportunity to recognize someone who has had a positive impact on your life as an educator or an educational leader.
Wendy, I've got to say this. My aunt, who was a teacher, was the one that locked in. My aunt Mildred, she's 95.
Aunt Mildred, I love that.
And she was the one who's like, he's going to read. My mom and Aunt Mildred were like, you're going to learn how to read. So they did that. And then when I was in fourth grade, my mom had cancer. The teacher that I had was a cancer survivor. And because she had been on that journey, she really did a good job of meeting my needs. And then I've got to do one more. When I started out, I came from the generation where you were given a book and told to teach, or you were expected. You didn't have the mentor we have today. But in my first assistant principal job, I was only there for a year, but I've been connected with what Dr. Wanda Dean for the last 30 years. And last year, we co-taught a class at Buffalo State for leaders, and we're still checking on each other. And even though she's retired, she's still teaching leadership classes and sped classes. And it's nice just seeing things coming around full circle.
Yes, yes, indeed. And again, Gerald, it's just an honor to have had you today. Hoping that our listeners have taken away some cool nuggets and things that they can implement or even reach out and ask you about. And everyone, do pick up a copy of Before It Breaks, the 7 Pillars of Trust every leader must build. Thank you so much, Dr. Loden.
Thank you, Wendy. I've enjoyed being on your show.
And that's a wrap. Till next time. Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible, because strong leadership drives deeper learning.